Hey y'all, welcome back. This week we are going to be making some delicious Southern style recipes. They're going to be absolutely delicious. So we're going to start out with making some fried chicken, which is a Southern staple here. Everybody has their own recipe, everybody has their own way of making it, and they're all absolutely delicious. Now, my recipe can be found on my blog. I will also leave it linked down in the description box below so you can check that out, as well as all of the other recipes in this week's video. So let's get started. I've got a skillet on the stove preheating with a little bit of oil in it. I've also got a sheet pan lined with parchment paper and a oven safe rack, and my oven is preheating to 375 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. Take my rings off because it's going to get a little messy. I'm going to grab a plate and what I've got here is I've got my flour, I've got my seasoning mix, a little bit of buttermilk, and I've got my chicken here. I've got some chicken thighs that has been soaking in some buttermilk and a little bit of seasoning salt, and it's been going for about 2 hours now. And we're just going to go ahead and remove the plastic from this so we can get this going. Okay, to my flour here, I'm going to go ahead and add all of my spices. In here, I've got salt, pepper, paprika, some garlic salt, not garlic salt, but garlic powder, oregano, parsley. All of the spices will be in the recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and add all of this in here. It's going to be nice and seasoned. We're just going to give this a little mix. Now I'm going to go in and add my buttermilk here. And I'm just going to kind of mix this together in here. And it's going to create some nice little crumbles in this mixture. And it's going to give the chicken a just delicious crunch to it. Now you don't want to mix this in completely. Just kind of mix it to where it gets a little crumbly. Alright, now that I've got this all mixed up, we're going to go ahead and bread our chicken. We're just going to grab a piece of chicken. You can use any kind of chicken you have on hand, chicken breast, thighs, legs. I'm going to use thighs today. So I'm going to shake off a little bit of this excess buttermilk here. And we're just going to go ahead and just flour this up until it's nice and coated. Now you can double batter this if you want to. I'm just going to do one coat today. And then we're just going to take this out and place it on my plate. And now I'm just going to go ahead and batter the rest of these up. And then we'll move on to the stove and get these going. Alright, so my oil has come up to temperature and I've got my chicken here. And we're just going to work in batches. And we're going to put these skin side down. Make sure you put it down away from you so you don't get splattered with that oil. And we're just going to cook up a couple of these. And when they get nice and golden, we're going to remove them and put them on our little tray here until they are all done. I'm going to cover this up so the grease doesn't splatter everywhere. In the meantime, I'm going to tidy up a bit, and then we'll move on and get these in the oven. Alright y'all, so the last batch is done. I'm going to go ahead and cut my heat off and just take these out of the pan and put them over here with the others. And we're going to put these in the oven and bake them for about 25 to 35 minutes, just depending on how thick the chicken is. When the internal temperature of the chicken reaches 160, between 160 and 165, they're done. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on to cook, and then we'll move on and I will show you a delicious side dish. All right, for this side dish, we're going to be making griddle cakes. Now, griddle cakes is a delicious side dish. It's kind of like a cornmeal cake, but it originated around the time of the Revolutionary War, and everybody has their own variation of making these. And I'm going to show you how to make mine today. This is how my dad made them. This is how my grandmother made them. I'm sure it's been tweaked along the way, but we're going to start out with what's in the bowl. I've got some flour, cornmeal, and a little bit of sugar. And we're just going to mix everything together. I've got some baking soda here, and we're just going to use about a half of a teaspoon, not much at all. And this is going to help it rise along with the baking powder. And we're going to use about 2 teaspoons of that. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up together, make sure it's all nice and combined. I'm using a fork, but you can certainly use a whisk for this. You want the batter to be thick, so it makes like really crispy edges on the griddle cakes. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients. I've got some neutral oil here. I'm using avocado oil, but vegetable oil will work just fine. So I'm going to add that in there. Along with 1 egg. And I've got some milk here. This is about 3/4 of a cup. If I need more, I will certainly get some more. I will show you the consistency of the batter so you'll know how thick to get it. So I'm just going to go ahead and break this egg up and get this all mixed together. All right, so this is mixed and it has no lumps in it. I'm going to let this sit just for a couple of minutes so that cornmeal can absorb some of this water, and it's going to thicken up a little bit. It should take around 5 to 10 minutes. All right, y'all, so we are ready to make these griddle cakes. I've got my pan here, and I just added a little bit of avocado oil. You can do olive oil if you want to, or a mixture of oil and butter. So I've got my 3 tablespoon scoop here, and we're just going to cook these like pancakes. I'm going to add just a couple of scoops down onto my pan here to make sure I don't overcrowd the pan. And we're going to cook these up. Now, once the edges get set and the holes that pop up don't close back on themselves, they're ready to flip. They'll be nice and golden on the other side. And then once you flip them, you'll cook them another 2 to 3 minutes, just like you would a pancake. And then just take them off and put them on a sheet tray lined with a rack, or you can put them on a paper towel lined dish. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, and then I will show you everything when it gets done. All right, so these are ready to flip. I'm just going to flip them over like a pancake, just like that. And then once they cook a few minutes on the other side, you can just take them off and put them on a serving platter. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Y'all, I don't cook fried chicken a lot, but this is some good fried chicken. I just served that with some Brussels sprouts, had it in the freezer, needed to use it up, so I just put them in a pan with a little bit of oil, salt, pepper, a couple of other seasonings, and then I just cooked them up. They were really delicious. And these griddle cakes, so good. You don't have to serve these with fried chicken. You can serve these with beans. They will be really great with beans. All right, y'all. Today we're going to be making some shrimp po' boys. These are so good. I remember the first time that I had a shrimp po' boy when I was a young teenager when we went to New Orleans for the first time. It was great. So we're going to make these at home, and it's super easy. You can make your own rolls or you can buy them from the store, whatever is easier for you and whatever that you like, you do that. So I've got some flour in my bowl here. I've got a pound of shrimp because I'm cutting the recipe in half. With us, we're not going to eat 2 pounds of shrimp. So I've got a pound of shrimp that I've just de-thawed and I've got sitting here in a strainer. And I've got some Cajun seasoning. And we are just going to load this flour up with some nice, delicious Cajun seasoning. We're just going to mix this up. I want this shrimp to be nice and flavorful and with a nice little kick, because if you've ever been to Louisiana down to New Orleans, you know that their food has the best spice to it. Alright, so I've got that all mixed in, and all I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my shrimp directly into the bowl. You can do this by hand and just batter each one and put them on a plate. I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to put the lid on it, and I'm going to shake this bad boy up until all of this shrimp is fully coated, and then we will move on over to the stove and get these frying. Alright, now that we're over here at the stove, I've got my skillet here. I just added probably about a half of a cup of oil in here, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. I don't want to deep fry these. I just want to shallow fry them. And we're going to work in batches, and we're going to cook up this shrimp until they are nice and golden and cooked through. And then I'm just going to remove them to a sheet tray here that I've got a little rack on, so the excess oil can drip off and these stay nice and crispy. So I'm going to get these going, and then we will put these sandwiches together. Alright, y'all, so I've got my shrimp done. They've cooled a little bit, but they're still warm. So I'm just going to set these, we'll just set them right here. We're going to make us a po' boy. So I've got some remoulade sauce here, which is classic po' boy sauce. And we're just going to add a little bit of that to each side of the bread. You can add as much or as little as you want. And now we're just going to put this together. You can add whatever side, like toppings you want. So I've got some lettuce here, and I'm just going to add some lettuce down in here. Like that. I've got some tomatoes. Typically I would put like the slicing tomatoes on here, but I don't have any. So we're just going to use these tiny little ones here. And now we're just going to add our shrimp. You can add it on this side, you can add it on this side. We're just going to add that right on there. And then you're just going to put this together. You can add some more remoulade sauce. I love this sauce, it's really good. Got a nice little kick to it. Add that there. And we're just going to put this together. Does that not look delicious? This is going to be so good. They're messy, but they're really, really good. Y'all, if you have never tried a shrimp po' boy, they are so good. This is the easy version that I do. Cup of flour, 2 or 3 tablespoons of your favorite Cajun seasoning, mix it together, batter your shrimp, fry it up, make your shrimp po' boy. So good. I will leave the link to the remoulade sauce in the description box below for you guys, but it's very easy to make. I just served this with some fries on the side, and this was so delicious. Alright, y'all, let's make some dinner. Today I'm going to be making hamburger steaks and gravy and potato cakes, and I'll make a side to go along with it, some sort of vegetable. But we're going to start out with making the hamburger steaks. So I've got a pound of ground beef here, and we're just going to add all of our spices in here. Along with some Worcestershire sauce and some salt and pepper. And then we're just going to mix this together until it is well combined. Alright, so I've got this all mixed together, and I'm going to go ahead and patty this out. Now, this amount, this 1 pound of ground beef, will make between 4 to 6 patties, but you just make however much or however big that you want them. I'm going to do 4 patties, so they'll be pretty good size. So I'm going to go ahead and shape them, and then we'll move on over to the stove and get these going. Alright, so I've got my patties all pattied out, and we're just going to add just a tiny amount of oil to my pan here. If you have a fattier beef, I would leave the oil out, but since mine's more lean, I'm going to add a little bit just to help in the cooking process. And I made the patties in like this little oblong shape. We're going to put them in this pan, and we're going to cook these on both sides until they're golden and crisp. Now, they might not be done in the center, so don't worry about that, but we will finish cooking them in the gravy. So while this is going, I'm going to clean up a bit, and then I'll bring you back and we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take these out. They've got a nice color on them, and I'm just going to put them on a clean plate. We're going to set these to the side. Now, if you don't have enough oil in your pan, you can add some butter or some extra oil. Since I don't have enough, I'm going to add just a little bit more oil, about 2 to 3 tablespoons. And we're going to add some onion, a tiny bit of salt, and some pepper. I'm going to cut my heat down just a little bit, and I'm going to cook these until these onions are nice and tender. It should take about 5 to 10 minutes. Alright, these onions are nice and tender. I'm going to go in and add some flour. We're going to cook this flour down until all that raw flour taste is cooked out, about a minute or 2. Alright, so now I'm just going to go in and slowly add in some beef broth, a little bit at a time so we can thicken this gravy up and get out all of those lumps. Alright, now that this is all mixed and combined, I'm going to go ahead and add in the burgers back in here. And we're going to bring this up to a simmer, and we're going to let this simmer until these burgers are cooked completely through. It should take about 15 to 20 minutes. And that gravy is going to thicken up. So while that happens, I'm going to put this on the back burner here, and we're just going to let it do its thing, and then we'll move on and make some potato cakes. Alright, let's move along and make some potato cakes. Now I've got some potatoes here that I've just cooked and mashed, and I let them cool. There's nothing added in here, but we're going to add some stuff to it. I've got some butter here that I just melted and let cool. And we're going to add all of that right in here. And I've got an egg, and I'm going to break that open and add that right in with the mashed potatoes. So I've got that. Add that in there. Now from here you can add any kind of seasoning that you want. I'm going to add some seasoning salt or seasoned salt. I don't want to add too much because we're going to add a little bit of salt to this as well. And I'm also going to add a little bit of garlic powder just to give this a little bit of flavor. Some salt and some pepper. And I'm just going to mix this together. just to distribute all of these spices in that egg. Okay, now I'm just going to add some flour. I start out with a little bit. Now on the recipe on my blog it says to add a cup, but depending on how thick your potatoes are, just kind of go in and add a little bit, and if you need more, add a little bit more. So I'm just going to start out with a little bit, and I'm going to mix this together until they are combined, all the flour is combined, and the potatoes are thick enough to hold their shape when pressed out into a patty. Alright, so I added about 3/4 of a cup of flour to this, and it is holding its shape pretty well. Now you can add herbs, cheese, whatever kind of combination that you like, and it will all be very good. Now you might notice the similarities between this and gnocchi. However, gnocchi is a Italian style potato pasta, and this is more like a pancake, but they are both equally delicious. So now that I've got all of this mixed together, I'm just going to divide this and patty it up. You can make them as big or as small as you want. I'm going to kind of make them into a puck shape with some high sides on it, kind of like that right there. And I'm just going to put them on the plate here, and I'm going to finish this up, and then we'll move on over to the stove. Alright, so I've got my patties here, and they're all patted out, ready to go. I've got my skillet over medium-low heat with some olive oil in here, but you can use any kind of oil that you want. And I'm just going to add these to the pan. Turn my heat up slightly. And we're just going to cook these until they are nice and golden brown on each side and cooked through. Should take about 5 or 6 minutes per side. And then I'm just going to remove these from the pan, put them on a serving platter, and then everything will be good to go. And then I will show you everything when it's done. Alright, so these are ready to flip. I'm just going to carefully flip them over. Got a nice golden crust there. And I'm just going to finish these up. I've got some tea going back here. Got some corn here, and the patties right there. And I'm just going to finish this all up, and then dinner will be ready. Y'all, I think hamburger steak is one of my favorite dishes. It's just absolutely delicious. And these potato cakes, they were so good. I just served it with some corn. I was going to make a mixed berry crisp, but I didn't have time this week to do that. But I will leave the link to my berry crisp down in the description box below for you guys. But that is going to wrap up this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.